The pilot episode of Suits on Peacock is actually noticeably different to the Netflix version. Suits originally came to TV back in 2011, where the series premiered on the USA Network. While the show enjoyed moderate success, and it led to a respectable 9-season run, Suits has found new life since the series ended after being moved over to Netflix. Suits managed to earn an incredible new fanbase, which helped to get the new Suits, LA spin-off off the ground, and ensured the series lived on. However, the version of Suits that people were introduced to on Netflix is a different cut of the show's pilot episode. While the actors, characters, and story beats all appear to be roughly the same, there are some standout differences that need to be addressed in order to fully embrace the show and its changes. Suits pilot is 9 minutes longer on Netflix than when it aired on USA Network. Netflix got a different cut of the Suits pilot. The first thing to note is that the Netflix version of Suits pilot episode is a whopping 9 minutes longer than the episode featured on Peacock. Which means that rather than the 72-minute combined double pilot episode, it's a whopping 81-minute pilot episode on Netflix. However, that is largely down to minor adjustments and cuts to ensure the pilot would be tight and accessible for the US-based audience. Initially, the creators behind the show wanted the longer version, but the studio asked them to tighten things up in exchange for having the longer version be used when it came time to distribute it internationally. That is why the pilot on Netflix, a platform which is a global streaming service, runs for an additional 9 minutes, as opposed to the US-based Peacock service and their shorter version. So ultimately, it was down to contracts and trying to up the pacing for that pilot episode. How Suits' extended pilot on streaming is different from the original network version. There are important differences for the Suits premiere. Between both versions of the pilot, there are not a lot of huge changes. The episode introduces the core cast in either version. The same plot is being developed, with Mike getting into an interview with Harvey, Mike tackling his first case as an associate, and navigating the new bonds and relationships around the offices. Both episodes also do a lot to strengthen relationships between the core cast, with Harvey Specter, Mike Ross, Donna Paulson, Rachel Zane, Jessica Pierce, and Louis Litt all getting moments to shine. However, the biggest change is really the pacing. In Netflix's version, there is more space to take in the scenes, and things feel slightly slower. There are brief additional scenes layered back in that give nice little moments to individual characters from the core cast, and these all add up to make up the extra 9 minutes. But in the original, the pacing is much more snappy, and while there are some cuts made, the integrity of the episode remains intact. So, despite an edit and a change in the runtime, both episodes end up in the same place, with all of the same developments and story beats. Which version of Suits pilot is better? Both versions of the pilot have their strengths. In reality, determining which version of the episode is better is largely a matter of personal preference. It's hard to imagine that any of the extra scenes would be counted as favorites for the audience, as they are generally minor and do not damage the development of the story by being removed. However, for die-hard fans who want more of each of the characters, the extra 9 minutes may be essential viewing. But, for many others, having a tighter pilot and a snappier pace could actually be the difference between being hooked on the show and losing interest during the pilot episode. With that in mind, the tighter 72-minute edit could be taken as being a better episode for keeping the energy high and pacing in line with the show as it became more established and confident in what was being delivered. The pacing is important, and it helps to keep the tension high and focused. Meanwhile, it is a joy to have more time with the characters in the longer cut, exploring their personalities with just a little more time and attention. So, whether Suits original or the Netflix international edit, both are solid starting points for one of the best legal dramas on TV.